Where are we going?
Water.
We're gonna go jump in the water?
Yeah.
We're going to Great Wolf Lodge in Fitchburg, Massachusetts. This week, my family and I visited Great Wolf Lodge, and it was okay. Great Wolf Lodge is essentially a indoor water park resort here in Fitchburg, Massachusetts. There's quite a few all across the country. It's a franchise, and every single one is a little bit different in size and what they offer. So I can obviously only speak on the one that we went to in Fitchburg. Sam and I have been seeing commercials for this for some time. If you live in New England, I'm sure you've seen commercials at least more than once for this place. It advertises itself as a resort. There's obviously a water park. It's sort of two indoor water park sides. They have giant slides and some other activities for kids, and you stay there in a hotel. We got a pretty good deal rate for $180 a night, which I figured was like about as good as it's gonna get. I have to preface this again by saying Sam and I aren't necessarily water park people, so we didn't have crazy high expectations, but we figured because of the price point and it was just something to do, we decided to take Caden. Upon pulling up, it is definitely a resort style kind of vibe where you're going up onto this mountaintop and you go inside, you check in, you get some wristbands. Those wristbands have your room key as well as an ability to pay. It's basically just an NFT scanner that you can use for all kinds of things throughout the resort. The rooms themselves are not bad, but they certainly feel a little bit old and cheap. But it was really the water park experience that we were somewhat underwhelmed with. If you're a water park person, you'll probably like this, especially in the wintertime. We started off by going and taking Caden. He really didn't do a whole lot because of his age, other than just kind of splashing around in the water. He went down a couple small water slides, but nothing incredible. We didn't even go in any of the huge water slides or anything like that. And then we went and got some dinner. The food options there are pretty limited in terms of your only options are sort of like a pizza place, which is really expensive, kind of cheap, super, super greasy pizza, or a restaurant that they sell as a grill, but really it's buffet style, and it's about $26 a person. Caden was free, but the food, the buffet wasn't anything amazing. Again, it was pretty grease heavy food. We spent the rest of the night just kind of hanging out in the hotel. But we did go down and see, they have sort of an animatronic, sort of Chuck E. Cheese style thing where a bear talks and some animals come out and they sort of tell a story, and Caden was really into that. But essentially we just sort of called it an early night because the process of getting in and out of the bathing suits versus his bedtime was a little bit minimal. We were able to get in there at 1, but we were able to use the water parks at 1 o'clock until I think it closed down at about 8:30, 9 o'clock. So it's sort of confusing when a place like this is so heavily targeted towards families, because the pool doesn't open until 10. And there's really not that much to do with a child there before 10 o'clock. They have an arcade, they have sort of an indoor jungle gym, they have like some VR room that you can go in with family, but these are all additional costs. So if you're just trying to go for what you get with the purchase of the room, you're really limited to just the water park. So we obviously, with Caden being a 2-year-old, were up at about 5:30, so we were left with quite a few hours with kind of nothing to do. We went down to that same grill restaurant, sort of the only food option, and it was $20 a person. Again, Caden was free for breakfast. They charged me $3 for coffee. That was really the quality of the coffee that they give in the room, and it was quite terrible. And then around 9:30, we joined this massive group of all of these people with their children anxiously awaiting the water park to open. We spent another hour or two at the water park. Again, Caden really couldn't do that much, and I totally acknowledge the fact that he's probably too young to really get the full effect of this place. But it was still a good time. He had a good time. We had a pretty good time. Our checkout was at 11 o'clock, even though I'm pretty sure we are able to use the pool until possibly the end of that day, or at least 1 o'clock. Once we checked out, we were pretty much ready to hit the road. So overall, the day was fun and we had a good time. But where my opinion, sort of my review of this place would start, of would I recommend it to somebody? This is not a place that I would pay more than maybe $200 for. I think that would be my max. But from what I understand, there are nights, especially in the holidays, where you can pay up to $1,000 a night for this room. And when Sam and I looked it up, the nights that we were there, I don't know if it's just because the time frame of when you would be booking it, but they were averaging about $500 a night. My guess is they're always running specials, so I don't know how many people are actually paying that full price. Overall, I felt the entire atmosphere to be fine. It was fun, but it's overall pretty cheap. Even the games that you can play, it's like a quest game where you can buy a wand and there's various things, sort of like a scavenger hunt style, various puzzles and things that you can solve. The jungle gyms and all that were cool as well, but again, that's additional cost. So if we're just reviewing based on what the cost of what you get with the resort is, it's not a whole lot. The water parks are big, but they're indoor, so they're limited in size. I'd say the whole combined water park was not that much bigger than like Canopy Lake Park, which isn't even a water park. It's that you get with the addition of a park pass. And the rooms themselves are pretty, like the building, the wallpaper, it feels like a little bit outdated, a little bit old. The animatronic show that we were watching really was reminiscent of Chuck E. Cheese, in that one of the channels was blown out, so you could only hear some of the characters, not others. Doesn't really matter for a 2-year-old, but if you're just considering what you're getting for the value, they're cutting some corners, and that's okay. The other thing that was interesting is a lot of the families that were there seemed like they were there for multiple days, like maybe even 3 or 4. And I know from the website that they're selling week-long packages here. And I just can't imagine, Sam and I were saying, I can't imagine actually spending more than about a day here. I really just don't think there's that much to do. You got to consider again that it's an indoor water park, and this could be different. We're not those people, but the chlorination was like really heavy in those rooms and sort of dries out your eyes and your sinuses. And, you know, I don't know how long or what age your kids are that you're going to just sit in a chair and let them play. I'm sure a 7-year-old can spend an entire day in just those 2 water parks and have a blast. But as far as an adult, I don't know how much that water park experience can hold your attention. And again, going back to the price, if you're paying, let's even say $500 a night for that, I just think that there's better vacations that you can take with that money than going here. And also, I think a big downfall of that place is the food. If you're gonna sell it as a resort, I think you need to put some restaurants. There was a lodge bar that was a bar that I think maybe actually had a menu, but it was not really encouraged for families. It was all high tops. It's not a place necessarily that I think were kids. It was closed when we were there. It only opens at night. But otherwise, all your restaurant options are pretty expensive and not really of any sort of quality that you would want from a place that you're stuck at for a week. And there's not a ton of restaurants in the area. But again, we're rating it as a resort, somewhere that you're supposed to stay at and never really leave. So I would recommend that if you were planning to stay there for a few days, to bring your own food and beverage and all of that, because I don't think you're gonna be getting your money's worth by paying for those buffets every single day, especially 3 meals a day. There's just not enough there. But I'm being relatively critical, and I know that, and that's okay, because I think where that place does really strong is, I think it would be great if you had a kid from maybe ages 7 to 14. I think it'd be a great place to go have a birthday, stay 1 night, maybe 2 nights, depending on you and your child and what you enjoy. And if you had multiple kids who could benefit from it. But again, I just feel like for the money, I have to say, I just think there's better places to go. If you come across a good rate that's like $200 or less, or whatever you consider a good rate, I'd say do it. It's a fun, nice night getaway, especially if you're in the area and you're not having to travel terribly far, especially in the wintertime, when it's cold and there's nothing to do outside. It does feel like a summer activity. They have a lot of things for families there. Like they had a story time, they had like a little trick or treat thing, they had trivia and things like that in the lobby, but it wasn't anything more special than you'd find on like, those weird little activities that they throw on cruises and things like that. If I had to rate it on sort of a 0 to 10 scale, I would probably give it somewhere in a 3 or 4, in my opinion, as far as a vacation, considering the cost of everything, money and food and all of that. So we had a lot of fun, as a day away, but it was just that. It was a 1 day away trip, and I don't really see us doing that again until maybe Caden's a little bit older, or a different circumstance. And I certainly wouldn't pay more money than I did that time around. So that was Great Wolf Lodge. Glad we did it. I don't think we'll be doing it again anytime soon, but I wouldn't say that we'll never do it again. That's pretty much my opinion.